Hey and welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to talk about something I was thinking about after recording my last video about what I learned through that really hard depressive season and in just how like God was taking care of me and doing a good thing in me even when I wasn't able to recognize it or didn't really feel like there was anything significant I could learn, because that did not feel like a clearly significant time in my life. And yet that was a cornerstone, like such a pivotal moment for what he was doing inside of me and the ways that he was convincing me that he is my God and I am his child, like I am his bride and I've been chosen and he's not gonna let me go. That made me think about season of my life that I'm going through right now and the ways that it's really difficult. I feel like we can have a mindset of questioning God and being like, why God, like I've been so good, I've been so faithful, like why would you let my child die? Like why would you let me get cancer? Why would you let me lose my job? And all of these things, and that we're questioning God's heart for us because we're like, why would you do this to us? It doesn't make sense. And I think it is so easy to have that mindset because like we don't understand God's whole perspective. We don't know what he's doing. And even knowing that he's working a good thing, sometimes it's so hard to imagine what in the world it could be right then. And so it's easy to feel like, okay, well maybe he lied to us. Or even when I've had his comfort before and he's helped me understand, there are times like a couple days later when I'm just like, God, like why? I don't get it. I don't want this. I know you said that it was gonna be good and you even like showed me how it could be good and gave me hope for what you're doing in this season, but I don't want it. This is too hard. I don't understand anymore. Even when he shows us his plan, it's always a struggle of back and forth choosing to believe that hope. I really think that it's important to have a mindset of hope and trusting that he is doing something, because I feel very controlled by fear. Not really controlled by it, but influenced by it. Like, not that I feel like my whole life is dictated by fear and my actions are dictated by fear. Probably more because I have a freeze response when I'm afraid rather than like flight or fight, and so I don't tend to like do anything when I'm afraid. I do feel like I'm made to not do things by fear. I don't know. Anyway, all that to argue the definition of the word. Like I don't feel controlled by fear, but I do feel very influenced by fear and very like attacked by fear. Like I feel like that's one of my primary emotions. Oddly enough, which is so weird because I don't really think of myself as a scared person, but like I have had so much stress or anxiety or just so much wordless fear triggered in me recently. Rough couple of months. Very sensitive. This verse has always been really special to me and I don't even understand why. Like why did I pick this verse a couple of years ago and be like, oh man, this is like really important to me, because I feel like I wasn't super controlled by fear back then either. Like I can't understand what I would have seen in myself to think that I needed to not be as afraid, because now I'm like, I feel so much more afraid than I was back then. And back then I thought that this was a big thing in my life, but now I can't even remember like what I was scared of necessarily. But it's the verse that's like, there is no fear in love because perfect love casts out fear. Like that's famous verse, but it's so important and so special to me, and that is such hope for me that he moves into my heart and there's no room for fear anymore. Like his love just takes up too much space that it drives out the fear because there's not room. Like it reminds me of the image of like Jesus in the temple just like driving out all of the money changers and all of the people that aren't supposed to be there, and he's like, my house is supposed to be a house of prayer, and that's what I want for my heart. But I feel like it's a den of robbers, like all of these things trying to steal my joy and my hope and my comfort and my peace. And so I just love, honestly, that wild, that strong image of God casting out my fear so actively, so passionately, because he wants me to be free. Like he wants me to be full of love instead. And that verse has been so special to me because of the ways that I've seen and experienced so much fear in my life, and I want his love to drive that out. And so that was making me think of what if it is his severe mercy to me that season where it was so hard, where I was like, God, this is what I am the most scared of and you're making me face it. Like you're making me face your silence where I feel like you've turned your face away. And then he showed me that that's actually not anything to be scared of at all, because what I was so scared of is not true. Like I'm not going to be totally abandoned. I'm not going to be just tossed on the waves of life. There's nothing I can do to control what's happening to me or how I'm responding to it. There isn't very much I can do to control what's happening to me, but I can control my response, and like I can bring my heart and my emotions in line, and like it doesn't have to be a dry, horrible, depressive season. I can literally find so much joy in the middle of that. I just have to put in the effort. And that was so comforting, and I'm so glad that he taught me that so early in my life, that he put me through such a hard season so I would learn like that's not something I have to be so scared of anymore, because that fear was really inhibiting my relationship with him and the ways that I was able to minister to others. Because if I have that mindset for myself of like, yeah, we're just helpless, then how am I going to be able to comfort someone else or like encourage them to be strong in the difficulties of life? Because I'm just going to be like, yeah, I guess just hold on and someday you'll understand, instead of being able to be like, no, fight for joy, like here's what I've done to be able to like capture my heart, rein it in, bring it back to God in the middle of feeling like this. And so I know that that's his plan for you too, like this is his heart, this is what I've experienced, and be able to share that and give them hope. And so like I'm so glad I learned that so early on, so that I didn't have to struggle with that mindset for so long before God finally was like, oh yeah, this is an issue, and like we worked through it. And so thinking of it like that, in this season now where I feel like he's making me face what I'm now most afraid of, being abandoned and being alone, I'm like, okay, what if it's not that he's a cruel God, that it's like, you know what I'm most scared of and you're not protecting me from it? What if it's not that at all? What if what I'm so scared of, he's trying to show me there's nothing to be afraid of? Like, I don't have to be so controlled by this terror because he's with me and he loves me and he's holding me. Like, what if he is making me face this now so that I don't have to deal with this fear for the rest of my life, so he can show me right now that he is enough, that he is good, and that he loves me, and that he's never going to leave me, that if I have him, I'm okay. And he's already taught me that I can have him. And so now I'm having to experience it so much more deeply, that he is enough for me, that even if everyone else left me or abandoned me or like threw away my love, that if I was so vulnerable to someone and they rejected me, like even still he would be enough, and he would still be carrying me and still be holding me and still be loving me, and like I could go on to live a good life. So I think that that's such an important mindset to keep. Not, what, God, why are you doing this to me? Or like, why are you hitting me when I'm down? Or like, why are you stabbing me in the sore spot of my body? Like taking a knife and driving it into my Achilles heel. Maybe it's not that he's not strong enough to keep it from happening, or it's not that he doesn't care, or it's not that he's like, this is for your own good. What if it's because he sees the way that fear is controlling our lives, and he wants to show us that he's better, that there's nothing to be scared of, that we don't have to live our lives so controlled by fear, and therefore so controlled by like, well, I need to be controlling, like I have to amass all this money or all this power or all this affection to like keep me safe. And he's like, no, like all you need is me, and I want to show you that, because all of your false security is false and it's gonna let you down and you're gonna hit rock bottom and you're gonna be so disillusioned. But like if he could just uproot that fear in us, what if that's what he's doing? Like what if, again, it is all about being after our hearts and helping us to love him better. And like he's trying to set us free from something when we're like, no, let me just hold on to this, like I'm safe, stop trying to take it from me. And we feel like he's just making things so much worse, and really like he's making things so much better, and he's trying to save us from ourselves. And so I don't know, maybe not super profound, hopefully not super long thought, because I've been making some long videos, but that was just what I was thinking about ever since filming and like editing my last video. And I just wanted to say that because I think that's really important too. Like there's so much about God's heart that we need to understand better, and we need to know, and we need to start living like we believe it. And so I want it to be his mercy in my life to force me to live out of that hope, to force me to trust him, and to be able to like believe these things with all of my heart, all of my mind, all of my soul, all of my strength, because I've experienced it, because he stepped in to my world and he brought me out, and he took that fear and he cast it away, and he filled me with love instead. Like I want that to be my story. I don't want to be just clutching this so desperately that I'm not willing to let him work in my life, and not willing to let him try to start taking that away from me. And I'm so glad he's stronger than me. Like I'm so glad that he will have his way in my heart, that I've surrendered it to him and he can do whatever he wants in me, because I want whatever he wants for me. And even if that means walking through my greatest fears, like the valley of the shadow of death, he'll show me it was just the shadow and he's still with me. So thank you for watching, and goodbye until more interesting things happen.